So next, I want to talk about Star Trek, because that's a franchise that has a lot of productions kind of in one state or the other of being released. And some things we have been given updates on, but other things we haven't heard about in a while. So I want to go over each project here and kind of tell you where they currently are and when we can expect to see new content from that series or film. So first, let's talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, because that has become the flagship project for Paramount Plus when it comes to Star Trek. So Star Trek Strange New Worlds just finished their second season. It finished up before the strikes. And then the third season was supposed to begin filming in Toronto the week before the strike took effect in May. So this means that there is a possibility that season 3 could begin filming soon before the end of the year. But as I mentioned before, due to most productions not filming during the holiday season, it may be pushed to the beginning of 2024. So this is good news that they were all set to film and everything. But because this strike is ending right before a lot of productions would have gone on pause anyway, they basically missed the whole second half of 2023 and now will probably begin in 2024. What this means is that we probably won't see season 3 into 2025, but there is a slight possibility that we could see it in 2024. You know, season 2 did end on a pretty sharp cliffhanger, so fans are eager to see what happens next with the crew of the Enterprise. And as I just mentioned, Strange New Worlds is really the best thing that Star Trek has going for it right now on Paramount. So while I don't think they'll rush the production because they're so close to being ready, I bet they really will hit the ground running when they film in hopefully January. And maybe possibly we'll see it before the end of 2024, just so there isn't a whole, year and a half in between seasons. But then again, a lot of series will be going through this same thing because everybody has been affected by the strike. So maybe the producers at Paramount will think that, the audience is already experiencing this with a lot of other productions and a lot of other series and films. So maybe we can get away with it too. But I really would like to see Strange New Worlds as soon as possible. So I hope that it does get released before the end of 2024. While the season was written before the writer's strike took place, since the writer's strike ended about a month ago, there's been about, I think, a little bit less than a month between the end of the writer's strike and the actor's strike. The writers on the third season of Strange New Worlds have continued to work on the season. So they've done touch-ups or they've done any changes that they thought needed to happen before the filming began. So hopefully that'll mean that this will be a better season, because maybe this is stuff that they were able to think about and work on because of the, lack of work basically during the strike. And now maybe these episodes will be better. As far as we know, it will be a 10-episode season. I know there was a rumor that maybe Paramount would go all in on Strange New Worlds and perhaps make this a 20-episode season, not just because it's been so long between season 2 and season 3, but it's actually cheaper for a studio to produce 2 seasons back-to-back than it is for there to be some kind of buffer, because you only have to fly actors in once and all that kind of like logistical stuff. It's easier to do. So maybe we'll see that. I know that it's been a while since the actors on Strange New Worlds have filmed, so hopefully they remember all these characters and stuff. I did see online that certain members of the crew have released behind-the-scenes photos of filming some episodes from season 2, and it looks like they had a lot of fun. So I'm sure those actors are ready and willing to get back to work, and I am very hopeful to see them back on screen before the end of 2024. Now let's go on to the last new thing of Star Trek that we saw, and that was Star Trek Lower Decks. So we just watched the 4th season of Star Trek Lower Decks. The production of the 5th season of Star Trek Lower Decks was not affected by either strike, since it is an animated show, although it did seem like stars of the show were not able to promote the 4th season while it aired. But behind the scenes, they were able to work on the 5th season, so there shouldn't be much of a delay in that coming to our screens. So Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 is now one of the 3 new seasons of Star Trek that fans will for sure see in 2024. I just talked about Strange New World and said that maybe we'll see it in 2024. So that would be the 4th new season of Star Trek. But this is one of 3 that I'm going to talk about that is for sure. So for sure, we will see the 5th season of Lower Decks in 2024. It is set to be released in the late summer, early fall timeframe. The next 2 shows I'm going to talk about will probably be released before Lower Decks. So this will probably be the 3rd thing that we see in 2024. But it is cool to know that we will get more Lower Decks in the next year. And Lower Decks has not yet been renewed for a 6th season, with most fans hoping that there will be a 2-season renewal once it is announced. I know that Mike McMahon is a huge Star Trek fan and has talked a lot about how he would love, he'd love to do this show forever, of course, but he'd love to at least get 7 seasons because the quote unquote successful Star Trek shows, Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine did get 7 seasons and got to really, plot out a lot of character development for those characters. Now, having said that, Lower Decks has only got 10 episodes a season, so all in all, they'll still have a lot less content, but it would be cool to see at least 7 seasons of Lower Decks. I did a review of the 4th season that I just released last week, and I also did a compilation video of every Easter egg from the 4th season in a second video that I released on my main channel, What Did I Miss? So I'll put those links in the description of this video if you'd like to check those out after you listen to this podcast. But yeah, I love Lower Decks, so I am very much looking forward to this coming back, and especially since I'm going to get to see it in 2024. The next bit of Star Trek that we will for sure see in 2024 is kind of bittersweet, and that is the 5th and final season of Star Trek Discovery. Now, while season 5 of Discovery was initially filmed between June and November of 2022, after Paramount announced in March of 2023 that season 5 would be the final season of the show, they returned for 2 months of reshoots, and all that happened before the writers and actors strike. So that was not affected at all, as far as I know, by the strikes taking place. The 5th season is still set to be released early in 2024, so we can expect promotion beginning before the end of this year. And I would expect perhaps a new trailer and definitely some interviews with the cast and crew talking about, the impact of Discovery and going into the final season, because the final season of a show is always a big deal. An initial trailer for the 5th season was released that showed off some of the new characters, including a full scene from presumably the first episode. Since Discovery will be the only live action Star Trek series on Paramount in 2024, and this is their last season, there's a possibility that this will make people care about it more or less than the past couple of seasons of Discovery. So sometimes when it's the last season of a show, nobody cares about it because it's not going anywhere. But in this case, Star Trek Discovery may see kind of a resurgence because, for one, we know that we're not going to see Strange New Worlds for a while. So live action Star Trek, if we want to watch live action Star Trek, Discovery may be our only choice for at least a year. Plus the fact that it is its last season and 1, maybe 2 characters that are on the show may actually move on to other things. And I'm going to talk about those other things here in a little bit. Maybe this will make people tune in more and make the show a little bit more popular than it has been the past couple of seasons because of, these extenuating circumstances. I know with Picard, their 3rd season was their most popular season, but that had a lot to do with not only the fact that it was the last season, but they had all the characters from the Next Generation coming back. Discovery doesn't necessarily have that as far as we know. The only thing it really has going for it is it's the only live action Star Trek in 2024 on Paramount, and 2, it is going into its last season, and some of the characters may actually move on to other things. So I think that this will probably be a pretty popular season for Discovery. Now, will it be a good season? That has to do with the writers and, where they plan to take this. I do like that they return for 2 months of reshoots and that this will be like a proper send-off. It's not just going to end like a normal season of Discovery. It sounds like we will get some kind of, finale. I don't think they're going to come back to normal time. I know that a lot of people think that that's what's going to be the end of Discovery. I tend to think it's going to have some tie-in with that short trek where they found that Discovery was abandoned and nobody had been on it for like many, many years. I think maybe even hundreds of years. And that it actually was the pre-refit version of Discovery. So I think it's somehow going to tie back into that. I hope it does, because that would be nice. It would be stupid just to be like, oh yeah, we forgot about that, So hopefully we see some kind of tie into that. But either way, we will get new Discovery in 2024. And like I said, it's kind of bittersweet because it will be its final season. Another Star Trek show that, quite frankly, is probably happy to be heading into its final season is Star Trek Prodigy. And I say that because after the 2nd season of the series was originally set to debut on Paramount in late 2023, the streamer decided to cancel it in June before it aired and instead shopped the season around to potential suitors. In October, Netflix acquired the rights to the series and announced later that the 1st season would be available on Christmas this year and that the 2nd season would be released in 2024. So that is some huge news that has happened with Prodigy. I've mentioned on my podcast before that the strike probably helped Prodigy more than any other series because after it was canceled, it had a 2nd season in the bag. And it even has, people from the Star Trek universe that people recognize on the show. The fact that that was already ready to go and all these streamers were going to be looking for new content because the strike happened, I thought that that was pretty, good for Prodigy and that somebody would probably pick up that second season. And lo and behold, Netflix swooped in and did just that. Concerning the second season, Robert Picardo has been added to the series as his character from Voyager, the Dr. EMH program. I think he's playing the actual same character and not another EMH. I think that from the trailer that was released, it does look like that is the same character, or supposed to be the same character. So somehow he is integrated with the plotline, which is pretty cool. I mean, they got Robert Beltran in the first season to reprise his role as Chakotay. And I just mentioned Kate Mulgrew as Catherine Janeway. Like Discovery, expect promotion to begin for Prodigy on Netflix now that the actors can promote the show. So like I just mentioned, we're going to see a trailer probably for Discovery pretty soon. We're probably going to see something new for Prodigy pretty soon. And we're going to see a lot of people talking about it online now that the actor strike is over. So even with this strike in 2024, we will be getting 3 new seasons of Star Trek, even though 2 of those shows are probably heading into their last season. Discovery for sure, Prodigy probably, unless they do huge on Netflix and Netflix decides to buy another season. But Netflix seems pretty cheap when it comes to that. So I would not hold my breath. I would just be happy if I'm a Prodigy fan that I am getting another season, and that second season, I'm actually going to see it. But I don't know that there will be a third season. I could be wrong. Prodigy could be a hit for them. But going on like the history of Netflix, I would expect the second season to be the last season. But either way, we still will get 3 seasons of new Star Trek, possibly 4 if Strange New Worlds can get on Paramount Plus before the end of the year, because none of these things will be released towards the end of the year. So hopefully Paramount will want to release something for Star Trek towards the end of the year in 2024. And maybe we could start to see Strange New Worlds, or at least start to see trailers and, start to get hyped up for the next season of Strange New Worlds and possibly get it in January of 2025. So now I'm going to talk about a few things that are in the pipeline, but we don't exactly know when they will be released to the public. And the first thing that I need to talk about is the 4th film in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe. This would be the sequel to 2016's Star Trek Beyond that would have some or all of the cast of the J.J. Abrams universe return. After multiple different scripts and directors, the project was thought to be dead after director Matt Shakman left in 2022. Various actors such as Chris Pine, Sofia Boutella, and Zachary Quinto have expressed interest in returning, but everyone in the cast has seemingly moved on to other projects. I mean, Sofia Boutella is one of the main characters in the new Rebel Moon franchise that Zack Snyder is releasing with Netflix. Carl Urban obviously has The Boys, and he's like the main character for that. Zoe Saldana is an Avatar, and they're making like 4 or 6. I don't even know how many more Avatar movies they're making, but she's a big part of that. And a lot of the other actors have moved on as well. So it's really hard, I think, to get all these characters back in a movie because all these actors would be so hard to rehire. So I think that that's one of the things that's really going to hurt this movie. And it sounds like they already have a script that they're working from. But if that script does include a lot of these characters, I would say that they would probably have to, start back at the drawing board. However, one of the writers of the screenplay that this movie is supposed to be based on stated recently that she believes the project is still moving forward at Paramount and that the studio is currently searching for a new director. Also, besides the actors returning, many characters from this cast are now on the series Strange New Worlds, and the general public seems to be tired of multiverse stories. So it may be best just to move on with Strange New Worlds. I'm going to talk about a multiverse story here before the end of this podcast. And really, it seems like the public is just tired of, all these different threads, and they're tired of having to know so many things before sitting down and watching a movie. And I think if you have, the cast of Strange New Worlds and you're promoting Strange New Worlds and you see, Spock as this actor and you see Uhura as this actress, and then you see these characters again on the big screen, I think it becomes confusing. And then when you start to explain it to somebody, be like, oh, it's like the multiverse, they just tune out because people are just tired of multiverse stories. So I think that's a problem for a 4th film in the Star Trek universe. I have said that I don't think that this universe needs to continue. I think if they just went with the 3 that were released, I think you could still say that was a successful attempt at, rebooting the Star Trek universe and kind of go a different way. And I think that would behoove, the current climate more, because big movies are really failing right now. And to set Star Trek up for failure like that by having to rehire these actors at these really high amounts, well, then how are you going to not produce a big budget film when a lot of your budget is already going into getting these actors back? So I think that's a problem. I think that Strange New Worlds can be a problem now, because remember, Strange New Worlds wasn't on TV when the J.J. Abrams movies were being released. So they haven't had to, live in the same market yet. And I think that could hurt both of them. I don't think it's going to help either, Star Trek 4 or Strange New Worlds to have both of them out there with the same characters at the same time. So that's just my 2 cents, but it does seem like Paramount still thinks that they can do this movie. If they do, I'd love to see, what they come up with. I think it'll be very hard for this film to be successful. What I've said in the past is that they should try and make a lower budget Star Trek film, not have any characters from the Enterprise, make it in some corner of the Star Trek universe, and do it low budget with someone like Gareth Edwards, who just did The Creator. And then if you do it like that, the expectations are not as high, and you don't have to make a $200 million movie. You can just make a good movie, and that's what Star Trek needs. So that's the way that I would handle it. I don't work for Paramount, obviously, but if you're listening, Paramount, that's how you should do it. So that's kind of the update we have with the next film in the Star Trek J.J. Abrams universe. It could still happen, but I don't know anyone that really wants to see it. Let me know in the comments if that's you, if you'd like to see another movie in the J.J. Abrams universe. One movie that we know is coming out in the Star Trek universe is the Section 31 film. Now, in 2021, the character Philippa Georgiou was written out of Star Trek Discovery to allow Michelle Yeoh to star in a spin-off based on Section 31. This had first been pitched by the actress in 2018. I love that about this story more than anything else, that, Michelle Yeoh is such a badass that she was just like, I love this character. I have an idea. I think we can do this. And the studio was like, heck yeah, like for sure, let's do this, because that kind of energy is infectious, like not just to the people that produce, whatever we're going to see. It's going to come through in her character. It's going to come through in her performance, and it's going to make for a better end product. And I just love that about this story, that she was actually kind of the thing that started this, that got this off the ground. And now, years later, they are still going to make this movie. In April of 2023, Alex Kurtzman announced that Section 31 would be an event film that would be released on Paramount+. Depending on the popularity of the film, this could lead to more event films in the franchise, as well as future appearances for the character. So this could be a one and done for the character Philippa Georgiou. It could introduce new characters. It could introduce an anthology kind of event film series, which I think would be best. I think that would be cool if like every year we got a different Paramount Plus release that was, a film, not a series, and it followed a different corner of the Star Trek universe like Section 31. This film will be based on a script written by Craig Sweeney, who also worked on Star Trek Discovery. I don't know for sure, but it sounds like the script for this film is something they've been working off. And while there's probably been a few different permutations, it does seem like this is the original idea that they had way back in 2021 or maybe even 2018, and they're just doing it as an event film. Expect casting announcements soon for this movie, as well as a production schedule. The filming will almost definitely have to accommodate for Michelle Yeoh's busy schedule, which means we'll probably not see this film in the 2025. And that's kind of expected. I mean, if this is going to kick off something new for Star Trek, they do want to kind of, take their time with it. So the fact that they'd have a script is great. Maybe they have a cast in mind, and we could see a couple characters, come back from Star Trek Discovery. I think that we might see Michael Burnham in this movie. This will be coming out after Star Trek Discovery is already off the air for a while. So maybe people will want to see Michael Burnham again. And of course, she has such a hard tie to Philippa Georgiou. It wouldn't make sense for her to show up again. So of any characters from Discovery, I could see Burnham coming back. And there is possibility that other characters, earlier on in the Star Trek Discovery journey for Philippa Georgiou could return as well. So now that the strike is over, I would expect that we would hear some kind of update from Paramount soon about casting, as well as when this will start filming. And hopefully that will be soon. But again, I wouldn't expect to see this until 2025, perhaps after the airing of the third season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They may want to, piggyback off Strange New Worlds and get some of that popularity. And, people are already on the service watching Star Trek. maybe they'll release this during the season even, just to make sure that people who are watching Star Trek see that this film is out there and it makes it more popular. I, for one, am excited for this movie. I know a lot of people are against it. I don't know why, but I think it's going to be really good. Obviously, the cast already, just with the main character, is amazing. And there is a chance we will see other characters return too. So I'm excited for it. This is one of the things I'm most excited for. And I can't wait to see Section 31 when it comes out. The last thing I'm going to talk about, I'm probably not as excited for, if I'm going to be honest, and that is Star Trek Starfleet Academy. In April of 2023, Alex Kurtzman announced that a new series based on Starfleet Academy had been greenlit, and that the series would be geared towards a younger audience than any other series in the catalog. Noga Landau was hired as the showrunner, and she is known for work that she has done on various young adult series that appeared on the CW network. Tawny Newsome, who voices Beckett Mariner on Lower Decks, was also hired as a writer. This series was reportedly building their writer's room before the writer's strike began and have been able to work together since the strike ended about a month ago. So again, we haven't heard a lot about Starfleet Academy, but now that the strikes are over, I would expect some kind of update from them pretty soon, because even though the actor strike just ended, the writer's strike has been over for almost a month. So this series should be creating a writer's room and already working on those first couple of episodes and maybe even talking about casting. There is a strong belief that this series will act as a sort of spin-off from Star Trek Discovery, and that characters and even plot threads that began on Discovery will appear on Starfleet Academy, such as fan favorite Sylvia Tilly, played by Mary Wiseman. Since the series may be tied to events that occur during the final season of Discovery, expect further announcements about casting and a release window once Discovery Season 5 has concluded. So for instance, Sylvia Tilly, that is a character that almost definitely will appear on Starfleet Academy, but they probably won't announce it formally until we're into the final season of Discovery, because it may give away something that happens during that final season. So if there is casting that's not related to the final season of Discovery, they will probably announce that. But again, if they just created their writer's room, they're probably very early in the casting process, and then they have to work through a lot of people. If it is a young adult series, they probably have to go with a lot of people that aren't really well known, so it might even make the casting process a little bit longer. Why I say I'm not super excited about the show is because I'm not a young adult and I don't watch a lot of young adult shows. I mean, I guess if Gen V is supposed to be a young adult show, I like that one, but I doubt that Starfleet Academy, even though it's also based at a university, I doubt that Starfleet Academy is going to be anything like Gen V. Although if it is, I'm all for it. If they want to do that, I think that'd be pretty cool. But maybe, they'll look at the success of Gen V and pick out certain things from that series, because that is a series that takes place at a university and exists in a much larger, universe. So maybe they'll take some hits from there, but I don't think they'll be doing a lot. But anyway, because of that, I'm not super psyched about Starfleet Academy. I could be wrong. I'll definitely watch it. I'll cover it, on my various channels, but it doesn't seem like it's really steered towards me. So that makes me think that I might not like it. But having said that, this is a series that almost definitely will not appear until 2025 and perhaps even 2026. Like I said, casting can take a long time, and depending on how they want this series to proceed, they might push it quite a ways. But that's everything that Star Trek has in the hopper, so to speak. Let me know, what do you think? What are you most excited for? Probably for me, it's either Section 31, a new season of Strange New Worlds, and a new season of Lower Decks. Although I am kind of interested at how they will handle the final season of Discovery. I'm very intrigued because part of the season was, filmed when they didn't think it was the last season, and part of it was. So I'm really interested to see how the plot kind of progresses because of that. And if I could pick out, what changes were made. I am really excited for the future of Star Trek, and I think you should be too. Let me know in the comments, what are you most excited for? And what are you least excited for as well? I would love to hear that. Let me know down below. Hey everyone, Eric here. Thanks for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. This was taken from my weekly podcast, WDIM News, which you can catch each Monday. If you would like to check out the full podcast, you can do so by clicking on this video here. Make sure that you not only hit the like button to help support me, but also hit the subscribe button so that you know when my new videos come out. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?